Hello everyone, am I audible? Can you please type yes quickly in chat box if I am audible to you? Just a moment. Hey, hi, hello everyone. Welcome to the series of knowledge sharing session. My name is Montu Verma, and today we are continuing our knowledge sharing journey with all of you. And I am super thrilled to start this session, and I hope you all are safe and sound with your family members and with your colleagues. So, before we really start this session, let us quickly settle down few questions in my mind and in your mind could be as well. So, you might have a question for me that Montu, how many time we will invest in this session? So answer is we are going to invest approximately 50 to 60 minutes in this session. And my question from for you is, can you please let me know from where you are joining? I mean, from which city you are joining? Can you please quickly chat in chat box? Can you please quickly write over there city name and what your name? Welcome Metri and thank you for joining once again. Praveen from Hyderabad, Prashant from Nagpur. Thank you Vinesh for joining us. Thank you Neeraj. Thank you Rishabh. Thank you Ravi. Great. So, dear all participants, I am super excited today to meet you once again. And we are going to meet Karthik Rama, who is procurement doctor and will be sharing his thoughts and experience over a big topic, strategic sourcing. So, hello and welcome Karthik Rama, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, Montu, thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show again. It's a real pleasure to be here. Every time it doesn't get old for me still.
You are looking great, Karthik, today.
Thank you, thank you.
So, Karthik, needless to say, you are very familiar to our participant, but I also would like to you to know about your background to our participant, and then we'll quickly have a your experience on strategic sourcing. Thank you,
Sure.
Karthik.
So, thank you. So, I come with close to, I keep forgetting it, guys, 15 plus years of experience in the sourcing and strategic sourcing or whatever, the procurement side of things. I've started off with helping folks with setting up the service center in India, getting some strategic work done by the US or UK based organizations that are setting up their centers in India. I've helped with policy restructuring of companies, setting up the team from scratch. I've helped with deployment of procurement tools as well. So I moved from a core procurement guy into the consulting side of things, where I went and that's where the procurement doctor tagline has been attached. Is because I go in and diagnose the current issues that you're having as an organization. Just as a doctor would do, putting the stethoscope on your chest or your back and see how you're breathing. I would also check and see if through interviews whether your organization is doing the right way or not. And I look for your old reports in terms of your audit checkpoints or whatever your last year audit reports or your policy procedure deviations. That is kind of your diabetes or your blood pressure evaluation tests. So we look at that and say how good or bad or ugly you're doing. Then we'll make tweaks to the process, whether you need a tool or don't need a tool. And I'll give you recommendations to, to stay healthy as a procurement organization. So that's a part of what I do to a large extent.
Fantastic, Karthik, and thanks for your introduction. Now we can quickly start this session on strategic sourcing.
Sure. So before I start sharing as well, Monto, I'm sorry I didn't mention this to you earlier, but given the situation, right, I just wanted to spare a few minutes with the folks just to like a reminder on how things are thanks to the situation that we are in right now, the COVID situation. I would request everyone to please be safe. I'm hearing a lot of bad news from before it was just numbers for me. Now it's people who I recognize in terms of the name of the person I met. who are passing away or falling sick. So please wear a double mask as much as you can. Don't try to go out unless it's really required. Right, follow all the protocols. Don't take it lightly, guys. It's very important. So that's just one message I wanted to mention before we start the session. Nothing else.
Thank you, Karthik. And one message from my side to our audience or our participant is, with wearing a mask, we need to spread a positive message or a positivity in our group or with our family members, so that they can't feel any kind of stretch with them. And this
Yeah,
time, this is the really time to take a positive message and understand that we are not in a situation to face any kind of negativity and negative news. So stay tuned and stay safe with Karthik Rama. Thank you so much, Karthik. Over to you.
absolutely. Like you said, Mondo, it's very important to have that positive mindset. A lot of the people, the medicines are not working is because you already think that you're going to go. So be strong, even if it's your parents or friends or whoever, give them the strength. By uh, positivity is very important for sure. Now,
Absolutely.
let's get to crushing this video. So I know we have. I intend to spend 30 minutes, but Montu knows I talk a lot, and that's why I come up with a presentation every time. If I start talking, I don't stop, right? And presentation kind of keeps me in line to what I need to talk with you guys today. Okay, so the topic, as Montu has put out, is what the heck is strategic sourcing? There's a lot of hula hoo about this topic. People make it either like a very big deal, or they think of it as it's nothing. So let's try to get this to reality out here. So this is how the agenda is going to be like. I'll start with the who does it, start with the why do we need it, and then we'll do the what, another 10 minutes, and then we have a 5 minute something from Montu, right? And I want to keep it a surprise until we get there, and then we'll have a 30-minute OPD where you can ask me whatever questions you want
Sure.
related to this topic or any other topic. And what we intend to cover in the near future is the how and the when, and again another OPD. So this is a larger, deeper discussion of what you're learning today, which is at, let's say this is 120,000 feet, and this is coming down to 60,000 feet. A little deeper for you so that you can understand and grasp the subject. Uh, because strategic sourcing can be perceived in multiple different ways. This is just me, basis the 15 plus experience that I've garnered over the years working with different customers, what's worked in what industry. Uh, McKinsey has put out a way of doing strategic sourcing. EY has a 9, 10, 6, 5, 4, 3 different versions of the process. But this is what has worked best for me or my customers in the past. So that's what this is the procurement doctor's strategic sourcing process. Okay, I hope you make some sense of it, and please put your questions in the chat window whenever you get one. I don't want you to think of a question and forget it when the OPD opens. So it's a good way to document your question. Okay, so let's get to the who. And the who conducts strategic sourcing, from what I've seen, it's chief procurement officers, category managers, sourcing consultants, and sourcing specialists. Now, what I want to do is, I know there are many more here. I left them out on purpose. I would request you guys to put it in the chat window. Who else do you think are conduct strategic sourcing? So I'll give it a minute or two here, guys, and I'll look for your comments. Because if you guys are not interacting, then I'll stop talking. It's up to you. Hey, Biplov, nice to see your name again, man. You're an old friend of ours, huh? Every session. Guys, please put in the chat who else do you think is involved in the strategic sourcing process? Functional business. Okay. Now I was coming to get to the next question, which was this is the direct relation. People are directly involved. Let's talk about the indirect guys also, who all come into interaction for you. Sourcing analyst. Thank you. Mohan, a vendor, finance. These are indirect. Perfect. Stakeholder, business team. Yeah, makes sense. Or the category manager. Yeah, awesome. Project manager, legal team. Ah, that's a good one. Yeah. Without legal, we can't. We'll be stuck. Supply chain team as well. Yep. Very nice answers, guys. I think thank you so much for that contribution. What I'll do is I'll move on to the next section.
Karthik, we also have a one comment in chat box. Finance head.
Yeah, finance head, absolutely. Finance head as well. Or else, how would you get into the budgeting and all that, right? The budget owner, even the finance guy needs to be involved. Yep. All these are key stakeholders, right? So you guys already know a lot of this stuff, right? But these are the guys who are directly in touch in terms of the strategy of the overall procurement side of things, right? You can have the site head if it's a direct procurement side of things, right? So there are different variations. Now let's get to the why. So the first why I see is increased level of cost savings, right? We see a these are very strategic objectives which are tying back to the company's level of strategic objectives, where you want to impact the revenue, so to say. So one of the most obvious benefit for business will experience from the strategic sourcing. It would be higher levels of cost savings as opposed to you picking up small spend, and you're impacting the entire category out here. And by identifying and selecting the right vendor, you'll be able to derive the highest, the best value as well as at the right price out here. So that's where we're looking at as a major game changer by bringing in why do we need strategy sourcing. But definitely, you have to align the sourcing and the business objectives. So this works as a uh, good way to manage your business stakeholder, is because you are you're looking at what is their budget, and basis that budget, you're saying how much of that budget can you impact. So you are talking to him and you're saying, how much do you want to save? For instance, he has 10 rupees of budget for a year. You're saying, okay, let me give me those 10 rupees. I'll buy it for you. I'll only spend 8 rupees. So that would be kind of a workaround that you're doing. And you're also telling that, okay, you want this in 10 days. I will ensure to give it in 8 days every time. So that, or different variations. There are other pain points also with your stakeholders. So you utilize that angle as well. Montu, are you able to hear me? I think my headphones just got switched, man. Are you able to hear me well?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so for some reason, my headphones just got switched. So the third one is optimization of ideal suppliers, right? So it's with using the word optimizing, not squeezing or squeezing him out of air, right? So we're looking which supplier is good at what. You utilize the supplier basis that, just as how you use one of your team members. So for instance, I'm good at presentation skills. The other guy on my team is good at uh, how he presents the idea, right? So I would build a presentation for him. He would go and pitch it on behalf of me in my team. So that could be a scenario. So you could also segregate your suppliers basis their core strength. So in order to effectively implement strategic sourcing, we need to, within your organization, you need to analyze your suppliers. You need to know at the end of your fingertips at least the strategic suppliers for you, and you need to see how well are they informed about what you need, and they also should be aligned with your business objectives, so that they also know if they miss something or do something wrong, how will it impact the overall process in terms of the value creation, or also giving the best possible price for us as an organization. So let me just take a quick pause there, okay? And now is your time to type away in the chat window. Do you see any other uh, any other reasons as to why do we need strategic sourcing? See, guys, please go ahead and start typing up in the chat window. I look forward to one, and I have one more reason out here. Let's see if you guys are going to get that reason without me showing it on the screen. Risk mitigation, perfect. Reduction, okay. Benchmarking, time management, work management, very good, Govind. Thank you so much. I see people raising hands, and I think they raised it right at the beginning. Would you want to chat with them and see what exactly they want to know? Best of competition, as always, Biplov with his answers. Thank you, Biplov.
So, dear participant, if anybody wants to ask any question, you can please note down. We will allow you to ask question directly to procurement doctor, or you can chat in. You can type your question in chat box. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Biplov, we are asking questions related to the next session, man, and I'm not going to answer that right now. Biplov is always ahead. Diversify risk, perfect. Chase the vision of the management. Yeah, very, very, very nice answers, guys. I'll just relieve the suspense, cut the chase here. Quality of goods at good price, good money. Let me. So long-term relationship building with suppliers is also a key thing out here, right? Because the contracts out here are long. You want to maintain the relationship and know exactly how your supplier is doing. If he needs any help, any capability issues that you need to look at, uh, does he still stand as a strategic supplier, right? Do you need to demote him or have a backup ready if you're seeing that he's not being able to deliver for the last couple of months or weeks, right? And it's very core that they are a part of a team. So we need to, along with optimizing the ideal supplier, we'll also look at the long-term strategy. They are involved even in the planning phase. If you see that there is a possibility of doing that, I know certain categories have that option, certain categories don't, right? Like, yeah, that's right. Production plan to be met in time, perfect. So now that we've spoken a lot, so what we had after how? Let me just go back to. So we've covered these two pieces: the why, the who. Let's get to the what, right? And before we go to the what, I just wanted to break the ice. I know today's been a little odd for me, and I needed something to laugh about, and that's why I put this up. Do you guys see yourself in the situation at times, or are you that guy with the weird hairstyle? And I just want to change the misconception that we have about strategic sourcing or of about the procurement teams as such, right? Because there is a lot of bad media, bad slack out there, and uh, they, it's not like all of us are like this, but there are a few who are giving the larger community the bad name, and we are an easy target. So I want all of us to think strategic and start making the right moves and push procurement forward. And that's what the intent of this particular Dilbert procurement snapshot is. So let's get to the what, guys. So let's spend some time on the what. And still, like I said at the beginning, this is going to be at 120 feet in the air, right? And next session, we'll get into the how and the when, which will tell you the core subjects as to what exactly, how do you execute a strategic sourcing project, because there are a lot of nitty-gritties. Me and Montu spoke this afternoon, and we thought an hour would not be enough for this subject. And a lot of us are very inquisitive or very keen on wanting to know in depth as to what strategic sourcing is. So I'll just give paint a picture right now. I hope it remains in your mind, maybe for the next week or 2 weeks. Then we'll come back and do the next session with you. All right. So let's get to the what. And if you see here, I'll just read that statement out there. Strategic sourcing refers to the process of identifying the spend profile of an organization and its supplier base to ensure their business requirements are aligned with the suppliers. Now, this is one of a ways of calling strategic sourcing. Now, we could call it in multiple different ways, right? Out here, this is not a process flow, guys. I'm just talking about the high level four different activities that you might do. Now, when I come back next week, I'll talk to you about detail the different types of strategic storage sourcing activities. They've been customers who have gone back after looking at the category spend, the type of purchase they're doing. I've tweaked the strategic sourcing process for them in particular. Only specific type of suppliers have a 9 step process. Specific suppliers have 7 step. Few suppliers have a 5 step process, depending on the type of supplier, type of spend, type of category. So you can twist and turn this basis however you want, whichever works best for your company. And if you look at it, the number one piece on this is research and analysis. Now, this could be termed in multiple different ways. In the strategic sourcing scenario, it is ideally, if you look at it, it's conducting external assessment with what, and you're comparing that with how your current spend profile is. So you're getting some external assessment in terms of the pricing or the market out there. It could be CPI, PPI, consumer price index, producers price index, or whatever may be the case. And you're assessing the current state out here, uh, and you will go ahead and make all the different analysis in terms of you determining the preliminary sourcing strategy out here. So that's where you have to do the analysis, and then you would go to your stakeholder and you would look at you would pick a category, you look at the stakeholder, and then basis you would ensure that they're bought into the idea of how we want to further reduce the cost out here, right? And then we need to validate if because they're the ones who've been purchasing the item or know about the design as well, and you want them to look at ways to whether our thoughts are accurate, and we could you need to is there improvements to be done to it, and then you finalize it. Ideally you finalize the sourcing strategy, and then this is where you ideally when you look at finalized sourcing strategy, this is where you have a preliminary feeling as to what could go in the RFI, RFP, or RFQ, whatever may be the case, right? But it's just showing as RFP out here. It could be uh, n number of RFPs depending on the kind of strategy you're doing. You need to also establish the evaluation committee out here who's going to look at the when the responses come from the supplier, right? Who's going to look at it, and evaluate the responses as well. We'll conduct vendor negotiations and award contracts. And to some extent, if you look at it, even in this area as well, you would have a particular activity here and here is where you are doing. Here you'll do the spend profiling as well, like a spend analysis as well. Here also you'll be also finalizing. When you say finalized strategy, you're also coming up with a set of suppliers as well. Maybe it could be incumbent suppliers, it could be new guys, new entrants as well. And these are the steps that you know off the back of your head. And the procurement event itself is tracking the actual savings, monitor the customer satisfaction, market the contract you want to survey. So this is also after you done the negotiations, after you sign the contract, how would you look at the relationship with that supplier, and how would you want to prolong that relationship and take it forward, right? You look at the performance of the supplier, if he's doing the way he's supposed to, are the audits going on? So it's kind of giving you the overall 360-degree view out there. So I see a question from Abhishek. At what stage will the supplier risk assessment from DP is done? What do you mean by DP, Amanda? Just so that I don't take it any other way.
Yes,
Abhishek,
yes, Karthik. I am also very curious to understand about DP and IS perspective. So, Abhishek,
data
would you?
privacy. Okay.
Okay, data privacy. Okay,
Yeah.
information.
Information security. Got it. So Abhishek, there is different variations. Abhishek, I'm calling this out at a very broad level. Okay, these steps could be done forward, backward, depending on if you're, for instance, I had a customer who was into medical equipment and devices work. So their processes are a lot different than what somebody than a customer who I did for who deals in chemicals, right? He just chemicals and hardcore production. Another customer does an automotive. So this keeps changing depending on what is it that you're purchasing, right? For instance, out here, I've seen few customers where this vendor contract, the contract that you're talking about here, it is issued right here in the RFP because they know that the supplier usually push back on signing the contract or there's a long lead time on getting the contract signed. So they send it as a part of the what do you say, as a part of the RFP or even before with the supplier, just so that we know whether the supplier is going to create a pain point with the contracts or not. Now, in terms of your question, in terms of data privacy or information security, now depending on what you're building or what you're buying, you can have that data privacy or information security pulled right at the front end when you're onboarding the supplier itself. For instance, if it's a new supplier or an incumbent supplier, you need to ensure that he's answered these questions right at that time, even before you pull him to the RFP, like at least to the at a broad level. Now, if we have a specific the data privacy issue or information security issue that is prevalent to the product, then it could come in the RFP. So that's where I look at it as. Does that make sense, Abhishek? Thank you. Yeah. Oh, lovely question. Rohit Rai. We need to sign an NDA before setting an inquiry. It depends, man. So everyone in 85-90% of the times you have an NDA, right? Now, a lot of us have a vendor onboarding portal. On that portal, also there are a few non-disclosure items, right? There, few people do that, have the habit of sending an NDA before an RFP, right? It depends on what you're purchasing. If you're buying pencils and rubber or print paper, I don't know if NDA would be that critical or not, but depends, right? But it's ideal to have an NDA regardless. And yeah, I think any other questions, guys, on this? And I think I've hit the mark on in terms of timing, right? Montu, you should give me a word on this, Montu, because I didn't take up much time.
Absolutely right. I am with you, Karthik.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll hand it over to Montu from here, and then we have an open Q&A session, guys, after this. So we can talk for the next 30 minutes, as long as we'd like to. Okay.
Yes, we will plan a session for open OPD like.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Montu, it's a suspense, sir. I don't just started off.
No problem. So Rohit is saying MSA is something different. Okay.
No, I'll take all these questions, guys. Hang on for the. You had something to show at this time, right, Montu? Or do you want me to pick up the question straight away?
So according to you, I will go with you. What do you want? You want to answer right away or as per your
Show
convenience?
whatever you want, man. You wanted to show something for a couple of minutes, right? So we could do that, and then let them type the questions. I'll get back to them on in terms of answering them. You had something to show the team, right? Or you want to skip that?
So it will be better from my side if we will keep a window for our audience to answer their questions in the end of the session. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Just a moment. Let us take a short break.
Are you a procurement professional and want to grow grow your professional networks globally? Welcome to Procurement Wale, the world of possibilities, where you can find and connect with thousands of procurement leaders as well as potential suppliers from all around the world. Log into www.procurementwale.com to create and showcase your profile amongst thousands of procurement professionals. You can also reap the benefits of knowledge sharing program, job sharing program and vendor introduction program. With knowledge sharing program, you can share knowledge by conducting webinars, podcasts, blogs and posts. The knowledge sharing program smoothens your workflow and stimulates innovation and growth. The job sharing program of Procurement Wale not only lets you post jobs and find suitable candidates can join the vendor introduction program and get a chance to introduce himself and his work amongst thousands of procurement professionals and can stay connected with fellow procurement professionals. Any procurement professional can also create and float requests for quotations to the potential suppliers as per their choice and can get goods and services at right cost from anywhere at any time. So, whether you are a procurement professional or a supplier, don't forget to visit Procurement Wale today and introduce yourself to the world of possibilities.
So, dear all participants, how many of you are joining us very first time? Can you please type yes if you are joining us very first time? Can you please type yes right away if you are joining us first time? So, thank you, Rohit, for joining us first time. Nikhil, Swapnil, Abhishek, first time, first time. So many of you are joining us first time. Thank you once again. A big thanks from my side to joining us very first time. And how many of you know about our website of procurementwale.com? Can you please type yes if you already know about our website procurementwale.com, or should I share in chat box? So just a moment, let me share the website link. Here we go. I have just shared our website link in chat box. You can just quickly go through and we will provide you 2 to 3 minutes. We will take a short break and do not go anywhere. We will once again joining this session after you just go through this website in 2 or 3 minutes. You will love it, my dear participant. You will really love it, our website. It is just only for our procurement professional, and there are multiple options or opportunities for you. You can showcase your profile over there, and you can also search for a job. You can also post a job. Even you can search a potential vendor over there. Sorry guys, I am not able to share my video because I am facing some kind of light issue, electricity issue. Thank you, Viplab. So do let me know if you are ready to or you want to start the session right away. Just type yes in chat box to start this session. No, Manoj, there is no charges to subscribe our channel or to subscribe our website. Okay, so Karthik, Rama, let us start once again this session.
Awesome. So, a lot of lovely questions, guys, in the chat window. And
Thank you.
if you one of the guys, I love the Procurement Wale website, and I'm going to be featuring on that. A lot of these videos, as well as I'll be writing a few articles as well. else Montu will stop communicating with me. So I've promised him that I'll support on that website. And I know someone has already asked if it's a charge. It's all free of charge, guys. It's just for the procurement community, and make full use of it. And I highly recommend, because it falls on all angles, for buyers as well as for suppliers, as well as for job seekers, or as well as for hiring managers as well. You can put in a post as well out there, and it's a very nice, sleek, easy to use website.
So, Karthik, our mission is to engage and bring all procurement professional at a single platform to bring
Yeah,
our profession to
the next level.
next level. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
this is
and
our mission.
absolutely, and that's what is my goal, guys. I can't do it all by myself, and I need friends such as uh, Montu, as well as you guys from the procurement community, and that's exactly what we're trying to achieve here. Um, and let's get to the questions, guys. I'm just scrolling up right through all the questions. I think we've answered the question on in terms of the NDA, right? I told when do we need to sign an NDA? So that depends, guys. And I've given you the example of how, right? And then I see a question from Rishabh Jain. What are the pros and cons of strategic sourcing? So this will be covered as a part of the our next session, right, in the house. So let me just make a note of it and ensure that I cover that. It would take the next 30 minutes or 15 minutes for me to answer that question itself. Is can MSA work in place of an NDA? So that's a larger question, guys. So usually what happens in the overall cycle of procurement is you sign an NDA with every supplier is because you've not engaged with them as yet, right? And the non-disclosure terms are pretty high level out there. Now, idealistically, when you go on a bid and you go ahead and award a vendor, that's when you come with a master services agreement or master or whatever agreement that you have, depending on the naming convention in your company. But in the real world, the MSA would supersede the NDA. It's because the MSA is tying the specific items that you need to have your confidentiality against. Okay. With that being said, it doesn't work that way all the time. Few companies have a legal team do it this way, that the NDA stands by itself, regardless if you have an MSA or not. Right. So it again, it's kind of, it depends, but depends on what you're buying out there. Okay. But I would say 80-90% of the time, the MSA does replace the confidentiality terms because it's much broader. It's covering a lot of other aspects as well. Right. I have a question from Prashant on strategic. How is strategic sourcing different than direct sourcing? Now, when you say, Prashant, I might need you to type it here. When you say direct sourcing, do you mean the kind of spend or the category that you're buying? Or is it a sourcing type that you're covering out here, direct sourcing? And Montu, you can let me know whatever he types us, because I don't want to scroll all the way down again and come back.
Okay. So, Karthik, we can continue with our
Okay.
sourcing strategy.
Okay. Awesome. What is the action we need to take when the price increase happens with monopoly suppliers? What sort of actions? Oh wow, you want to get you want to get a like one medicine that cures all the disease, right? So that's that's the kind of question that you have. Okay, so basis my experience or what I've seen work for few of the best guys that I work with in strategic sourcing, so to say. I think I've quoted this example in one of the older videos as well, Monty. But idealistically, on the monopolistic suppliers, people don't want to touch them is because they have a monopoly. But you need to definitely have a check on them to see if they are not overdoing it, right? Just because it's monopoly, they cannot just increase the price by 15%, 20% every year, like your rental agreement, right? But like for instance, in Dubai or in the Middle East, they reduce the rental agreement also, sometimes depending on the market rate, right? But out here in India, it's not the case. It goes up by whatever percentage. It's already in the contract, so it's going to
Mm-hmm.
go up. Somewhat similar is happening with the monopolistic suppliers as well. So what I've seen as an example is there's this very good negotiation that happened where a particular product was being bought, and the product, there was a complete TCO that was done, broken up by each cost by the component. Research was done in terms of what the cost in the market is, and assuming if you're building it in house instead of make versus buy, assuming you're making it, you came up to a price, and then you take that analysis to the supplier, and you ask them if it's way away from that price, definitely he is robbing you. And if to some extent unethical. So you have the right to go back and show them that and tell them that, bro, this is not working out. I know it's monopolistic. You're the only guy, but still you need to be a little fair with us. That's what I've seen work as wonders, right? And it has to be whether it's a monopolistic supplier or whatever, that vendor performance and optimization, those are the two elements that come here. If that is done properly, you would not be in this situation. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Neerav. Lovely question, though. Thank you so much. How do we identify the category for strategic sourcing? Analyze is must, but any good tips? These good tips will come in the next session, Govind. So you need to join the next session for sure, because I'm going to do a deeper dive in this. Okay. So we'll look at the SWOT analysis or whatever different tools and parameters that we would check to do an analysis on which category is ideal. Okay. Just for starters out here, you might not want to pick a category that is energy or something that is dealing with the government, right? So those won't come in here anyhow. Anything that you're paying to the government, looking at the Indian scenario. Oh, Sunit, thank you for the feedback, man. I hear you say excellent presentation and a lot of yeses, right? Let's see if there are any questions to the bottom. Okay, how do we get constant updates and understand the market dynamics? And this is Pravi. Is this relating to the website, Pravi? Or are you looking at how do you want to keep yourself updated in terms of for the strategic sourcing activities?
So, dear participants, if you want me to unmute you to ask the question directly to procurement doctor, you please type yes one by one. I will give you a chance to ask a question.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. By then, while someone tries to type to you, Pratik comes up with a very nice question. Should we terminate the signed NDAs with the non-awarded suppliers, because these are typically mutual, right? So I would not terminate them, Prithvi, just because we want them to abide by the confidentiality till the end of their lifespan. We don't want to take the risk, even though if they participated in an RFP, they know some bit of the formula or the recipe of what you're building. They can go and give that formula to another company or redo it themselves. So that's where you can't cut off the NDA. The other thing is, if you intend to work with them in the future, you could repurpose the same NDA as well. So I wouldn't do that. And mutuality, obviously, because it works both ways. You cannot say that you came back to a proposal with me and I'm going to make that my own, or I'm going to sell it as a product of mine. So that's where we have the mutuality as well. We also have to abide as a sourcing team or an organization to it. Okay, Prashant, you're talking about direct and indirect sourcing type. Got it. So Prashant, I'll cover this in my next session on how in terms of the strategic sourcing aspect on the direct side, there are few variations. I've seen Six Sigma lean methods to work very well on the direct side. So you could kind of mix and match that in your sourcing activity, because direct has a lot of manufacturing aspects, a lot of demand management, supply chain. So idealistically, if you look at it, the indirect is more straightforward according to me, because I've been more on the indirect side. On the direct side, I've worked on a couple of projects, but I've got good experience in terms of how you could bring the Lean Six Sigma concepts into your sourcing strategy on the direct side. So we'll talk about that in the next session for sure. But very nice question. And want to do ensure to send the comments to me, okay, so that I can plug these details in the next session on the PPT. Okay,
I will make a note for sure.
wonderful. Can we try to understand the Pravi, another question? Can we also try to understand their pricing method and understand the indices for making these price methods? Absolutely. One can align for a formula for price change depending on the commodity on a particular supplier, better to get into a long-term agreement. Absolutely. So this is how, on the how, Pravi, right? We could definitely think of multiple indices that are there out in the market. I've used in the past consumer price index, producers price index. I've used um, Gartner reports. I've used cost of living index. There are a few good indexes in terms of the consulting rate. If you're going by if you're buying something in consulting, buying a consulting services from an organization. So there are a lot of methods here, and like you said, a method for the same. You said that pricing method indices, and you also spoke about a formula for the price change. Yeah, all this would come in your strategic sourcing. If you remember the slide deck that I showed in finalizing the strategy, right? So that's where it would ideally sit as a preliminary thing, and you want the suppliers to answer your RFP in a particular way where it fits into that overall structure, and you have a apples to apples comparison at the end of the RFP. So that's where this will come and sit in. We have Mona Sharma asking, how do you draft a SW strategy from sourcing perspective? And I'm hoping you're saying software services or SOW. I don't know what it is here. Guys, please try and refrain using abbreviations, is because these words are used differently in different organizations. Okay, so Mona, if you could clarify if what SW means, I hope it's software. Software, let me know. And that's a much deeper question. We could look at that as a one-on-one conversation. If you'd like to, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I could give you that answer as well, whether it's SW or whatever it is. And then we have Ravi, how to keep myself updated on strategic sourcing activities, digital opportunities to adopt to improve the sourcing efficiency. Okay, and what? Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Karthik, before we jump on next question, so absolutely Mona Sharma, the abbreviation of SW is software. So would you like to throw some light on this question from Mona Sharma? How do you draft software strategy from sourcing perspective?
Well, now software. What kind of software? See, it's very unique, right, Montu? It depends. For if you're buying a subscription services license, if it's what it is, that's where it gets changed, and that's where I was telling that would be a better question to do a one-on-one. And it cannot be that broad, the strategy in particular. So when you're applying a strategy, guys, it has to be specific to that scenario. It's not a standard strategy that fits most categories or whatever. It's a method that you need to apply to whatever particular product or service or your stakeholder is asking for it. So that's why I'm saying it'll be good to answer that one-on-one in particular.
Correct. It is truly depending upon scope, what exactly we are going to procure from the market.
That's right. That's right. So, for instance, if I'm doing a software as a service for a particular product tool within your company, let's say your company is trying to buy Salesforce, right? So that's when it makes more sense as to what is the requirement, how many users. Basis that you will build a strategy, right? If you're going at the bare minimum, would you want to go for a free one? Would you want to what do you want to spend some budget? All variations out there. So do you want to implement a POC? Few strategies have a proof of concept, few strategies don't. So it completely varies depending on the kind of buy that you're doing.
And to Mona Sharma, to answer your question, we have a recorded session from IT expert Mr. Salis Sonar. So if you will just go through our YouTube channel, you will find the detailed answer of this question. And in case you want to directly have chat with Karthik Rama, you can contact him on LinkedIn. Am I
Yep,
right, Karthik?
absolutely.
Thank you.
That's a place to contact me. And I think you could leave it for folks to, if anyone who wants to come online and ask a question, guys, please write a message to Montu. He'll open the line for you.
Sure. So I can also unmute you directly. You can ask question, or rather writing in chat box. There are a lot of question, Karthik.
Yeah, they are right. Yeah. And what happened is I'm scrolling up and down. I missed where I was last, so that's why I'm asking. Let people ask questions. Okay, I got one from Pravi again. How do you keep yourself updated on the strategic sourcing activities, digital opportunities to adopt and improve sourcing efficiency? What are the available digital tools to improve the operational efficiency in procurement? Now, again, out here, are you talking about a tool within your company that you would like to implement? Or are you looking for you as an individual? What is it out there in the market? Then procurement wale is the thing for you. That is one. I can give you other things as well. There are a lot of lovely tools out there where you could subscribe as an individual called Supplier IO, where if you are working on a particular category or a set of buyers or a suppliers, you can subscribe to their updates, any of their adverse media. Are they going bankrupt? Have they come up with any new mergers or acquisitions? Has their CEO been imprisoned? Are they going through any lawsuits? That kind of updates on your particular vendors, you could definitely also gather information from there. So there are certain tools of that kind as well.
So, Karthik, we have another question from Rohit Rai. Rohit is asking, what if vendor do not share their costing for doing lean sheets
Lean sheets, lean
analysis?
sheet. Okay. Yeah,
So,
you should not have them as your vendor, man.
Karthik, before before we really answer this question, so how many participants want us to answer this question? Can you please write yes directly in chat box if you want Karthik Rama to answer? Since we have a lot of question in chat box, so you
And
want
we
to
only have 2 more minutes, guys.
yes. Or give me a chance to take a note, to make a note of all these questions, unanswered question, and I will share with Karthik Rama.
Absolutely. And what we'll do is we'll work off emails or whatever, guys. So I can. So there's certain questions that it's not possible to answer out here is because of the complexity of this. It's more so scenario based or case study based or the requirement based out here. So those questions we can take one on one, and definitely we have. I've shared my link in the chat as well. So please do reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be glad to answer your questions as well. I think Tanvir wants to talk. I think that sounds like a familiar name. We spoke to him last time also, right?
Yeah. Hi, doctor. How are you doing today?
Doing well, man. How are you doing?
I'm better. I'm feeling much better now.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Glad to hear you, man.
So I was not able to catch up in the entire session. However, I was able to jump in between. So I have a very specific question. I mean, it is related to the supplier base, and it is with reference to the deck that you have presented,
Okay.
the sourcing, strategic sourcing.
Mm-hmm.
Considering an organization is planning to do strategic kind of sourcing, it is very important to rationalize the supplier base.
Mhm.
And definitely with that, on those lines itself, um, for different categories, how it is decided that we are going to go with two suppliers for this category or four suppliers for this category. How is the number of suppliers decided for a particular category? Is there a specific rule, or there is no set rule, or what are the parameters that are kept into mind
Yeah.
while
So
fixing the number?
absolutely. So Tanvi, there's a lot of so that question is typically you see the how and you see the how like you're asking right now. So that will be covered in the next session for sure. But let me not give you a sleepless night. Maybe you might be thinking of this all night. So what I'll do is I'll give you a very high level answer on this. Right.
Sure,
There
sure.
are a couple of ways to manage this, Tanvi. Idealistically, if you're doing true strategic sourcing, you should also have a supplier management program as an organization. And that program kind of, whenever a new supplier is getting onboarded, you will put them into 3 or 4 buckets. And those 3 or 4 buckets would in turn, so in the 3 buckets, it could be critical suppliers, strategic suppliers, major suppliers, right? So critical suppliers are the guys who you need to be very close with. That's where those are the guys who come into your strategic events, right? If they don't perform, your company collapses. If they do something wrong, your company would be at stake. If the supplier goes bankrupt, your production lines are shut. So those are the suppliers, right? That's how you do it. The other angle to it is the risk. It's all what I spoke about is risk, and also the amount of spend that you accrue for that particular supplier as well. So that is the ideal way of doing it. If there may be few unique cases. So you would not do it just for the top spend suppliers. You would break your category, maybe direct, indirect, or in indirect itself, you could break it up into every category. You will pick the top guys. For instance, if there's a particular category where there's hardly any spend, that guy will be missed out. And if he's doing a bad job, you can't even control what he's doing. So there's different variations that you could take this up as. So you could break the category basis within a category into do it by subcategory and look at the spend profile there. That way, by adding all this background that I'm talking about, you will evaluate the contracts. You will evaluate how his whole performance was. If it's a new guy, you also look at his industry benchmarks, and that's when you come up to this. I hope that answered your question to some extent. But this is a lot that we're going to cover in the next session, anyhow.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tanvir, for joining us and
Thanks,
asking
guys.
the question. And thank you, Karthik, for answering the question. And I will request Karthik, please let us have a deep dive into sourcing strategy or strategic procurement in next session. And let us
Absolutely.
schedule it as soon as possible. And one more announcement for all of you participants. I am going to share a web link. We have a job opportunity for our procurement professionals, and I am going to share in chat box right away. So anybody who is in need of job can directly apply and get a chance to a job. And do not forget to share your feedback on our social media uh, uh, as LinkedIn and YouTube. And we will, as soon as possible, in touch with you for next session. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Karthik and everyone.
Thanks, guys.
And we
Thank you
will
so
catch up
much.
once again. Thank you so much.
Have a great day, guys.
Have a great day. Stay safe.